Okay, we ready to do this now? I gotta either wake up earlier or stop trying to do everything before my live streams because there's just not enough time in the morning to do things and then stream. So, lessons learned. Stop doing things. Honestly, that's just like advice for life. Just stop doing things in general. Okay, so let's make sure that I have everything ready here. Silent, silent. Is everything kinda working? More or less. Is this working? Yes. Okay. Everything is working. We are good to go. So let's get started. Hello, Shadowcat back, and we are back on the Tau Empire. Last time we were working on this, we made a huge list of things to go. And I didn't even finish the list. I really didn't. We ended the stream going through all the Tau war gear, and they have just so much that I didn't even bother writing it all down. We got their weapons, we got their armor, but all the other stuff that goes with them will probably be its own series of discussions if I even want to go through them. I might skip all of that entirely and do it on a case-by-case basis, but that's about all I can promise there. Let's see, where's my chat? There's my chat. Running so slowly for some reason, and I don't know why. There we go. Alright, and I already see that Blizz is in the chat. Hello, Blizz. Good to have you here. Haven't seen anybody else that I recognize yet. But that's okay. I'm sure that I'll see more people eventually. It may just take people time to kind of filter in. We'll have to wait and see. And turn this off just to make things a little bit easier. There we go. Alright, so where did we leave off? Well, we need, of course, our browser. There it is. And we need our spreadsheet, because this is what we're working off of. So bring up my own spreadsheet. Here we go. So here's what we're working on today. We're doing the races, and that means that we have 7 of these to get through today. Now, they shouldn't take too long to do, but we also want to make sure that we put in our proper, our proper due diligence. Because the Tau race is technically 5 races. And so I don't really have any kind of overall race in mind for the Tau and then like sub-races. For example, when we look at like humans. Let me go ahead and pull that up. So if we come over here and we look at, say, humans. Now, humans get a +2 to any one ability. Okay, very simple. But then there are alternate ability adjustments. There's the Feather Lights, which get +4 dexterity, -2 strength. And the Gravity Dwellers, which get +2 strength, +2 dexterity, -2 charisma. The problem here is that we have bog standard humans, which are just, they get a +2 to any ability they want. There is no bog standard Tau. Every Tau is naturally born as part of a caste. And so I don't really see a need to go through and create alternate ability adjustments. We're just going to treat each Tau as if it were its own race. So, that being the case, I'm going to come back here to the Adeptus Mechanicus so that I can copy this. And yeah, pretty much everything here is everything we need. So when we look at Tau races, of course, we are going to want fire, cast, and then we'll go ahead and grab this. Oh, Tux is in the chat. Hello, Tux. And Tux says, blaming Blizzard Star for me being late. For no reason at all. I mean, that's fine. You should watch the games that we do together. I blame Blizz for pretty much everything. Alright. So... first off, Firecast. What we're going to do is we're going to call all of these the Tau subtype. And that's how we're going to kind of link all of them together. We're going to call them all the Tau subtype. That way when we get to the Ethereals and their ability to influence all Tau, we can just say that their abilities only work on beings of the Tau subtype. We can go ahead, we can delete that. Hit points we'll get to in a minute. Size and type. They're, of course, going to be medium humanoids, and they will be, of course, Tau subtypes. Now, as for everything else, let's see. I'm just going to put down here ability... if I could spell... ability 1 and ability 2. I'm going to delete this for a minute because I just kind of want to get everything laid out. So now that we've got this, I can go ahead and copy it and say water cast, paste, air cast, paste, earth cast, paste, and ethereal cast, and paste. Also, Tuck says, I know that you blame Blizz for everything. I've seen those videos. Meanie. Oh, I don't think that Meanie even comes close to appropriately describing how I treat Blizz in those videos. And if you want proof of that, go watch the Magicka 2 series that we are currently doing. There is so much abuse in those videos that I have actually had the police knocking on my door. I mean, it is an exercise in just pure savage... I don't even know the word for it. My vocabulary fails me in trying to describe exactly how I treat her in those videos. There are war criminals that look at me and say, damn. So you should go watch those. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those. I'm going to start putting some lines across here. That way I can keep everything kind of separated. And one more for the ethereals. There we go. So, Firecast. Let's go ahead and make this bold, just to make it kind of stand out a little bit. Tau subtype, of course, ability modifiers. Now, here is where they're all going to change. Now, just as a reminder, the way ability modifiers work is very similar to the humans, where the humans get a +2 to any one ability. When it comes to ability modifiers, you always get a +2. Now, you can get a +4 if you have a -2 somewhere. You can have a +6 if you have a -4 somewhere. And that's going to come into use later. So for ability modifiers, let's take a look at what the Firecast is like and what they do. Also, Tux says Blizzard is a dragon, a very kind dragon. When she decides to eat you, I didn't see nothing. Yeah, when that day comes, I will basically be I'll basically be pulling the Lord Shen from Kung Fu Panda 2. If you've never seen that movie, at the end, when he's finally run out of places to hide and run to, he closes his eyes, he accepts his fate, he lets it come. Yeah, that's gonna be me. I will just let it come. Alright, so, Firecast. It says here, the Firecast, or Shas, comprises the bulk of the ground military of the Tau Empire, and as such, the Tau most often encountered by the Imperium. They average as tall or slightly shorter than the average human, and are generally muscular. This comes from the Firecast's origin in the plains of Tau, in the Tau homeworld, where they survived as hunters and warriors. Tau from the world of Viorla tend to have slightly greater muscle mass than is common among their species because of the increased gravity on Viorla. And we discussed this last time. Where the Tau are generally a little bit weaker than humans because of the lower gravity on their world. However, I suspect that the quote-unquote increased gravity of Viorla probably puts it on par with Earth, Holy Terra. So the Tau from Viorla are probably as strong as humans on average, which would put their soldiers maybe a little bit stronger than the average human. Whereas I think Tau in general, being the more muscular and the stronger Tau, are probably just a little bit weaker to, or maybe average of, humans. Which kind of puts us in a weird place. Where do we want to put them in terms of their stats abilities? Because if the Tau are in general already kind of weaker than humans, we could, across the board, just give them a -2 to strength for everybody. Which then opens us up to giving them a +2 to 2 other stats. And so that's what I'm going to do, is everybody will get a -2 to their strength, except for the Firecast. Now, the Firecast, since they are going to be, the warriors of the Tau race, they need to have good strength, which is why we're not going to penalize them on that one. They're probably going to need to have good constitution, so we may give them a bonus there. Now, we could leave it as a +2, but what I'm thinking is, for the Firecast, we'll give them a +2 to their dexterity. Okay, because they are well trained from birth, literally. We will give them a +2 to their constitution, because again, training. However, we will give them a -2 to their charisma, because again, they have been bred and raised from birth to be warriors. I'm fairly certain that their social skills are not something that was ever really a factor. Now, because of that, since we are comparing them mostly to humans, humans get 4 hit points. And I think that we're going to go ahead and copy that. So hit points for them, 4. Just because, they're very human-like. Now, interestingly, abilities. First ability that I want to give them. It says, the fire casts origin on the plains of Tau. That's very interesting, because we can give them something to represent that. And we can do that by coming back here into the races and borrowing from somebody else. I believe it is the Kasathas. So, originating from a planet orbiting a dying star, the four-armed Kasathas maintain a reputation as noble and mysterious people. They're famous for their anachronistic warriors, ancient wisdom, and strange traditions. These guys are cool. They can literally use two-handed weapons at one time. They're fun. But they come with this ability, Desert Stride. So they can move through non-magical, difficult terrain in deserts, hills, and mountains at their normal speed. And so I think that I want to literally take this in whole cloth. And I want to say Desert Stride. And we're just going to go ahead and copy this. We will say that Firecast, and then paste. We'll default format that, just to make sure it all stays the same. And there we go, because that fits. And then, of course, we need a second ability here. Also, checking the chat. JP is here. Hello, JP. Good to see you. I was a bit worried that you might miss this one. I'm not sure which has been your favorite module we worked on so far, but I think this one might be up there. So I was kind of waiting for you to show up. Alright, now, second ability for the Firecast. There's not a whole lot in here that I really want to give them, so let's look at what else they do. It doesn't say a whole lot, but what if we follow this link? Okay, so this is all about the Firecast then. They are professional soldiers. In some ways, their training regimen begins moments after their birth, for the Great Tau communes are fully given over to raising the best soldiers and nothing else. Discipline, fitness, hard work, following orders are drilled into the growing warriors. It is customary for teams to be raised and trained together, allowing the troops to form strong connections, a comradeship in arms that will serve them well no matter where the Tau Empire they are sent off to fight. That is interesting. We could simply give them a feat, like endurance. So it's organized into teams, cadres, contingents, communes, and commands. Hierarchy and the trial by fire, battle tactics. Not really terribly interested in their organization, as I kind of want to know more about them as a whole, or as an individual. But that may be all I'm really getting. Tau battle tactics is something that would come... It would come out in the actual game, because if you were going to play a Tau, and you were going to play a Firecast, it would actually kind of be on you to know this information so that you could accurately use Tau battle tactics in the game. That's not really something we need to add in there. Alright, so here's what I do think that I would rather do. I want to come down to general feats and take a look at, let's see, environmental adaptation. Is endurance not in here? Do they not have endurance? Feats. Okay, hold on. Endure. Really? They don't have endurance. You have endurance in Pathfinder. Why not in Starfinder? Okay, well, you know what? That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all, actually. Because I can come back to Pathfinder and steal it from here. Why not? So let's come down and we'll look at feats. There is literally nothing stopping me from just grabbing it from here and copying it over. So, EM... Here we go, Endurance. So for Endurance, you get a +4 bonus on the following checks and saves. Swim checks made to resist non-lethal damage from exhaustion, Constitution checks to continue running, Constitution checks made to avoid non-lethal damage from a forced march, Constitution checks made to hold your breath, Constitution checks made to avoid non-lethal damage from starvation or thirst, Fortitude saves made to avoid non-lethal damage from hot or cold environments, and Fortitude saves made to resist damage from suffocation. Okay, now not all of this I believe translates over directly, because when we look at skills, where are these skills? Here we go. We don't actually have swimming, which means that it would probably be a part of athletics. Yeah, you can scale vertical surfaces, leap over obstacles, and swim. So, as part of a move action, you can use athletics to swim. On a successful check, you move half your land speed through the water or similar fluids. Don't think about that too much. If you fail the check by 4 or less, you make no progress. If you fail by 5 or more, you sink beneath the surface or sink deeper. And you must hold your breath to begin drowning. If you do not have a swim speed, for each hour you swim, you must succeed a DC 20 athletics check or take 1d6 non-lethal damage from fatigue. If you have a swim speed, you receive a +8 bonus to all athletics checks to swim and don't need to attempt the athletics check to swim, except in hazardous circumstances. Okay, basically that just means that if it's part of your race and you have a swim speed, then you don't really need to make the check. You're just assumed to be so naturally proficient at it, you're good. So, these rules are basically the same. You must hold your breath or begin drowning. Let's see. So actually that does translate over pretty well. It's just, yeah, it's a little more specific because this has its own skill in Pathfinder, Starfinder, it's rolled in with everything else physical. Constitution checks made to continue running, and checks to avoid from a forced march. Do we have that here? I think we do. Where would that be? I feel like it's going to be in combat, but I'm not sure. Maybe not. You know what? I think it works well enough on its own that we can just copy and paste it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the link here. We'll come over to this, and I'm just going to say endurance. And I'm going to paste the link. And that should actually be a link. I don't know why it didn't come up that way. You know what? It doesn't matter. So, looking at the Tau Firecast, they're already stronger naturally than the rest of them. They're also more agile. They're also tougher. They're just not as sociable. Other than that, they're pretty standard. However, they are better just by their genetic nature at moving through deserts, and they can go for a really long time. So that's good. I think we're good there. Does anyone else think there's anything else that we should add to the Firecast? Put in the little chat thing if you think there's something I missed. Otherwise, though, I think that we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the Watercast. Okay, so I'm also going to put up here just warriors. Watercast is going to be ambassadors. Aircast is going to be pilots. Earthcast, we'll get to, I suppose. I'm not exactly sure what to classify them as. Tuck says, and then the Firecast attacked. I mean, if you're playing a Tau army, that is literally how it goes. Alright, so next up is Earth. Okay, water, here we go. So it says the Watercast is primarily composed of Tau merchants and diplomats. So maybe I should put that first. Merchants and diplomats. Okay. They are tasked with seeking and maintaining diplomatic relations with other member species of the Tau Empire, as well as maintaining the ease of communication and cooperation between the other castes. The Watercasts are generally taller and slimmer than other Tau, although presumably not enough to really make a difference. They favor diplomatic training and social grace over confrontation or combat. They are more capable in communicating in languages of other intelligent species than most other Tau, and from the time when the Tau discovered the existence of the Imperium, there are several accounts where Watercast ambassadors were dispatched to Imperial worlds, and those worlds accepted the greater good. Almost sneezed. Those worlds accepted the greater good without a fight to become new Tau Seps. Alright. There is a lot there that we can work with, actually. So we already know that Tau, by default, are getting a -2 to strength. Okay? Because of the low gravity on their planet, they get a -2 to strength. We know that they are merchants and they are diplomats. These are automatically things that require them to have a good social connection, ergo, good charisma. They are also multilingual. And so they learn a lot of languages. And the way languages work is if we go to... Would it be under skills? Let's see. Life sciences, mysticism, piloting... Okay, here we go. Culture. You are a student of a vast number of cultures. You have a deep, rich understanding of the undercurrents in cultures and language in general. Each time you take a rank in culture, you learn to speak and read a new language. This is an intelligence based. This is an intelligence-based ability, and so I do think that we should give the Watercast a bonus to their intelligence. They kind of deserve it. And so what I'm thinking is, for ability modifiers, they're going to get a +2, a +2 to their intelligence, a +2 to their charisma, and then, of course, the -2 to their strength. Because they don't really need it. They are literally the opposite of the Firecast. They want to just talk to people. Hit points, I don't see a reason to really penalize them for it. And so that'll just stay as a 4. Size and type does not change. However, abilities. Now, here's where they really get to shine. It says that they are merchants and diplomats, and so I do think that they should get an ability that represents both of those. So why don't we go back and take a look at some feats or abilities that might let us do that. For starters, let's look for culture. No culture? Not even in general feats? Oh, these are all combat feats. Oh, here's our general feats. And there's really nothing that specifically speaks to culture. Climbing Master, antagonize. Extra resolve. Extended telepathy, frightful display. Jet dash, master crafter. I really don't see any feats that seem to have any real benefit on skills. Just being reliant on skills. And there's really nothing here that even ties back to culture. So, that means that we're going to have to make it up ourselves. That's what we're here for. So I'm going to put in here, cultured. Okay? And I wonder, is it possible that maybe there's another race that has this already? Let's check humans. They tend to get the most. See, they get a bonus feat in skilled. Alternate racial traits, adopted, dusk sight, fortified, no. What about, I thought I saw a thing about culture in here. Let's see. Desert Stride, Forearmed, Historian, Natural Grace. Alternate racial traits are crew members and personal traditions. No, not there. Who else maybe? Lashuntas? They have magic and limited telepathy. They can get student. They can get rugged. Nope, I don't think anybody really has anything that's culture-based. So we're going to completely homebrew this one. Okay, so because they do get cultured, we're going to go ahead and let's see. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that they get a... I'm going to say that culture is a class skill. And +2 ranks in culture. So, automatically, doesn't matter what you're playing. If you're playing a water-cast soldier, culture is automatically going to be considered a class skill for you. Meaning that you can put points into it, you already get the benefits from it because it is a trained-only thing. And you're going to get +2 ranks in culture, which means right out the gate, you get to pick 2 additional languages. Now, not only that, but because you are getting a +2 to your intelligence, if this follows the same rules as Pathfinder did, and of course the links don't work. Constitution, intelligence, okay. Yes. Your character's intelligence modifier is factored into the following: the number of bonus languages your character knows at the start of the game. Even if this modifier is a penalty, your character can still use your starting languages unless your intelligence score is lower than 3. So, because you get a +2 intelligence at the start of the game, that is going to be 1 additional language. Automatically. Because you're getting 2 ranks of culture, that is going to be 2 additional languages. So you get 3 starting out. Sounds pretty good to me. And so that takes care of the diplomat part. Now, second ability has to be something related to the merchant part. So let's go back and take a look at general feats. And see if we can find something in here that might help us. When it comes to skills, what would appraisal be? Approximately. Is there nothing for appraisal? You know, Starfinder is really awesome in a lot of ways, and really bad in others. Because there's some things that are just missing. We've got acrobatics, athletics, bluff, computers, culture, diplomacy, disguise, engineering, intimidate, life science, medicine science, mysticism, perception, physical science, piloting, profession, sense motive, sleight of hand, stealth, and survival. If I was going to get appraisal or something like that, where would it be? Would it maybe be in engineering? I'm not sure. Alright, engineering, intelligence, train only. So, arm explosives, assess stability, craft tech item, disable device, identify creature, identify technology, repair items, and that's it. Then we get to intimidate. Let's see, life science lets you craft drugs, stuff like that. Medicine lets you treat people. Mysticism, we don't need. Perception. You can notice things, pierce disguises, search things. Physical science, craft drugs, poisons, medicinal, recall knowledge. Piloting, no. Profession, no. Well, maybe. But here's the thing, everybody has a profession. I mean, by default, everyone has a profession. Now, granted, as a Tau, your profession is kind of already set for you. Like, if you're part of the Firecast, your profession is warrior. Okay? You didn't get a choice in that one. You were born a warrior, you were raised a warrior, you will die a warrior. Sorry, them's the breaks. But I don't see how giving... I don't know. It says here, really the only thing that you can do here is you use your profession to make a living. A single check represents a week's worth of work. You earn a number of credits equal to double your profession skill check as a result. At the GM's discretion, you can use other skills such as computers or engineering to earn a living along the same guidelines. But that's not really... I mean, I suppose I could give them a bonus on that. Yeah, I guess that's what we're going to do. Okay, we'll do that then. It's not my favorite idea, and if you can come up with a better one, let me know. What I'm going to say is I'm going to say professional. And that is, I'm going to say advantage on profession checks to earn a living. Okay? So roll twice, take the better result. And that just comes from your entire life of being raised to be a merchant, being raised to be a diplomat, being raised to deal with people. So even if you say the wrong thing, you still know how to say the right thing. There you go. Now, is it great? No, it's not great, because it says here, a single check generally represents a week's worth of work, and you earn a number of credits equal to double your profession check as a result. So your profession is going to be equal to your highest ability, so it's going to be either your charisma or your intelligence. It does say trained only, but I mean, who doesn't get profession? Really, who doesn't get it? Profession. Check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. Yeah, everyone gets profession, so I guess that just means that you can't use it if you don't have points in it. And I guess that's fair. So make sure you put some points into profession. But that means that, let's say that you, let's give you the best odds, okay? So let's say, let's see, perception, physical, pilot, survival. Did I pass it? Ah, there it is. Okay, profession. So let's role play this one for a minute. So let's say that you are trying to earn your living. Okay? And I'm going to assume that you have a max stat in your chosen thing. Let's just say that you have an 18 in charisma. No, an 18 in intelligence. It doesn't matter, because Water Cast gets a bonus to both of them. So, you have an 18. Then, you get a bonus there. So that's +2, which puts you up to a 20. That's a +5 in your in your intelligence. So you roll the dice. You roll a 20. Then we add your modifier, 25. And so we then double that, and that means that for the week you earned 50 credits. JP says 13, 21, and 27 are the best odds. Maybe? I don't know. I guess it depends on what game we're talking about. Because if we're talking about craps, I think some of those numbers are a little bit too high. Alright, so you could earn 50 credits a week if you were a water cast and rolled, or had like max stats and rolled a perfect 20. Let's take a look at some equipment. What could you get for 50 credits? Okay, for 50 credits, you can get some clothing. Everyday clothing is 1 credit, so you can buy some new clothes. Formal, professional clothing, travel clothing. So you can get yourself some clothes. What about food? Can you eat? You got to eat at least once every day, preferably twice, but you got to eat at least once every day. Trade goods. No. What about meals? Okay, here we go. Meals. Intoxicants meal. We want at least a common meal, okay? We don't want to eat poor meals. So a poor meal would cost you 3 credits. Since we're talking about a week's worth of work, that means we got to eat all 7 days. So 3 times 7, 21. Hey, JP, there's your 21. You're psychic. Do you know what I'm thinking? All right, so 21 credits to eat for the week. You just made 50, so almost half of it's gone. If you had to buy clothes, we're now up to roughly, 36? How much did we say clothing was? Oh no, everyday clothing is 1, so we're at 22 then. If you had to buy clothes. What about place to stay? Services, lodging. Lodgings, okay. An efficiency. An efficiency place, not just a sleep pod, but an efficiency place would be 3 credits per night. Times 7 nights, that's going to be 21. So for food and for lodging, we're up to 42. If we need to buy clothes, that puts us up to 43. Technically speaking, this does seem like it actually works out. Now that of course would be the highest, which means that you might, on an average roll, come out a bit short. Oh, I think Blizz is out of here. Alright Blizz, it was good seeing you stop in. I'll see you later then. And everybody, don't forget to subscribe to Blizz's channel. Especially if you want to see the magic abuse from the other side. Okay. It is possible to support yourself working like this. However, I feel like a merchant shouldn't need possible. A merchant should just be able to do it. It's what they do. It's the entire purpose of their life. You know, I wonder. Yeah, JP says it works out. Do I really want to leave it like this? Here's what I want to do. I think I want to run a couple of tests. Just because this is bothering me. And it's bothering me to just an unnatural degree. So I want to test it. And I need some place that I can roll some dice. All right, that works. So here we go. So we don't necessarily know what we're going to have in terms of skills. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. I want to roll 1d20. Actually, hold on. I want to roll 1d20 plus 1d4, because I don't necessarily know what I'm going to have in that stat. And then plus 1, because whether it's intelligence, charisma, you're going to be using your highest. So we're going to get an automatic bonus there. So we'll do all of that, and then we're going to multiply that by 2, because you multiply it by 2 for a week's work. And then oh, oops. Didn't mean to roll that quickly. But hey! There it happened! First roll, natural 20. Unless I typed something in wrong. In fact, I know how to test whether I typed it in wrong. Do it again. Nope, didn't type it in wrong. The first roll was actually a perfect roll. Can't do that twice. And the second roll was a 34. So 34 credits for the week means that you're coming up short. Means that you might be eating poor quality meals for a while. And JP says it's rigged. Hey, I'm the DM in this chat, or in this room. Of course it's rigged in my favor. If we do it again, 20 to 36, so not good weeks there. You're still getting the 36 though, because it is advantage. And if we were to skip the common meals, which were 3 credits each, and go with poor meals, you could make it. One more time. Uh, 30 and a 16. Again, really thin margins. But it could be done. I think that giving them advantage on these profession checks might actually do it. Now, is it going to be the most useful thing? No. I've almost never had a party who would sit in one place long enough to actually do profession stuff. I have, however, allowed my party to simply perform a trade for a day, which is to say we would just do this and then divide it by 7. So in the case of this last roll, instead of, getting 30 credits for doing a week's work, you would get 4. We would round down to 28, divide by 7, and there you go. You would get 4 credits, which isn't going to take you very far. That's about the best I can think of, though. But you know what? I feel bad about it. And so I'm going to add one more thing on here. So advantage on profession checks to earn a living. And because I do this, even if it's not in the game, not proper anyway, I'm going to say advantage on checks to negotiate price. Okay? Because I have a very complex negotiation system. And it's actually really, really good. And Tuck says, I've yet to play a game where the GM doesn't make a situation where the world is going to end and you've got to stop it tomorrow. Or at least before the end of the week. That's not untrue, although I usually don't put that kind of time crunch on my players. If I ever put my players into a game where the world is literally going to end, it's usually going to take months. You'll have plenty of time to try and stop it, but also keep in mind, you're trying to stop the end of the world. So, yeah, you've got your work cut out for you. But here's what I basically do, and I wonder if I can fit this in here. All right. So, what's going to happen when I do negotiations is you want to sell something. Now, by default, the game says that you can sell anything for, basically what it's worth. And what's going to happen here is there's going to be your value and their value, okay? And usually what I'll do is when I'm calculating their value, it will be a D100% of the item's value. Okay? Which means that yes, it is theoretically possible that you can come across somebody who would pay you whatever you wanted. Now, this is all in secret, okay? This is all behind the screen, which means that if they value something at 100% and you offer them the item for 50%, they will absolutely pay you your immediate offer for it. Now, to keep this from being abused, if you propose something that is 25% over what they want to pay for it, then the deal is automatically off. So that's how that works. Then we get to negotiate. And so the negotiation is usually diplomacy, and that is in your favor. So you roll, they roll, and then you add the difference or subtract the difference. So when you do this, let's see, I do believe that it is it's been a while since I've had to do this. Your roll minus their roll. So if you roll higher and they roll lower, then you get a percentage in your favor. And then of course there's diplomacy. In their favor. And see. You roll, they roll, and then it's their roll minus yours. And then we take your favor minus their favor. Well, we combine them basically, and that gives you the price adjustment. And so whatever you wanted, that's how we'll adjust the price. It looks very complicated, but trust me, once you get into the game, it's actually a lot of fun. Because it means that you can literally haggle over anything that you want. You've got an old blaster, you take it in, you say, you know what, this blaster was selling new at 100 credits. I'm going to try and get 50 for it, which is a good number. Because if you try to sell it for half, you're almost guaranteed to be within that 25-point margin. And so you take your diplomacy versus their diplomacy, you subtract it, and let's just go ahead and do some dice rolls here. And I'll show you how it works. So we're going to say yours. And theirs. And so when we do this, your favor is 12%, theirs is 1. Okay? And so that is 11% in your favor. Then we do it again. Now, you got a 14 this time. They got a 1, which means that the favor towards them is actually a negative 13. So that's another 13% towards you. And so when we combine all of this, that is... Let's see, your original was 11, this is 13, so that's going to be a 24% price adjustment in your favor. So if you were asking for 50 credits on this blaster, a 24% increase in the price is going to come out to be about 20% be 10 credits, so I'm going to go ahead and say like another 12 credits, which means that your 50 credit blaster, you would get paid about 62 credits for. And of course, this can also backfire on you. You can end up getting less than you wanted, but it does mean that you can haggle on anything you want. You can haggle on everything you want. Although the rest of the party might say, you spent enough time. We want to get out of here. But that also does lead to a lot of nice inter-character conflict, because maybe you built a character to be a merchant and you're trying to cut deals everywhere you go. It's a part of the character you're playing. And the rest of the party is then caught between, I really, really want to go, but at the same time, this person is getting a lot of really good equipment really cheap. So, how much do we want to tolerate? I think it's a really interesting system. And it's just one of those nerdy kind of things that most people don't want to think about. They don't want to see it. They don't want to care about it. It's just, there it is. So I think that's going to work out well. And if the water cask gets to advantage on every single one of those rolls, it is almost guaranteed that every single negotiation will go in their favor. Okay then, we're moving on. Next is going to be the air cast. It says here, the aircast of the Tau function not only as messengers, but also as the bulk of the Tau protection fleet and Tau merchant fleet. They are even taller and more slender than the watercast, with long skinny appendages and hollow bones. These traits are attributed to their lives lived mostly in low to zero gravity void ships and void stations. This is exacerbated by aircast reluctance, if not outright refusal, to land on planets, as their skeletons have atrophied to the point where injury and broken bones are commonplace when they spend time in a gravity well. In the past, during the time of Montau, before the unification of the Tau tribes, the aircasts had membranes that stretched between their limbs, which allowed them to glide on air currents. Their pilots are recognized as generally superior to human pilots due to their better fighter craft, though they lack a normal Imperial pilot's level of combat experience. Okay. There's a lot to go through here, but primarily they are pilots. And so they're going to get some they're going to get some good bonuses there. Now, first things first, automatically they get a -2 to strength because they are Tau. However, they also get a -2 to Constitution, because of all of their hollow bones. And just basically their general level of not fitness. So that is already a -4. And remember, everything has to come out in the end to a +2. So we're going to need to give them 6 points worth of bonuses. And what I think we're going to do here is this. When we look at skills, here we go. Piloting is a dexterity trait. What I think we're going to do here is I am going to make them absolutely amazingly dexterous. I'm going to say a +6 to dexterity, which is unheard of. You never see a +6 to anything. But these guys are unique. There will, of course, be a -2 to strength and a -2 to constitution. Hit points. Now, this is where things are going to get a little bit complicated. And I want to take a look at some of the other races. Humans, we know, have 4 hit points. Kasathas also have 4. Lashuntas have 4. Vesk? Vesk gets 6. Yosoki get 2. Alright, and that's good. That's something that I wanted to see. Yosoki get 2. So there is precedent for going below 4. I'm going to go ahead and say they only get 2 hit points. Okay? Just because they live in an absolutely, well, almost absolutely consequence-free environment. Now, as for the abilities that they have, the first off is going to be piloting. Okay? So it doesn't really matter what you do. Pilot is a class skill. Okay, and they're already getting a +6 to dexterity. And since this does affect a lot of things, I'm not going to give them an even further bonus. They're already getting a +3 from dexterity. And if they put all of their points into dexterity to begin with, an 18 natural dexterity +6 is going to put them up to a 24 dexterity. Okay. Next is going to be, and I discussed this one before, I thought about it, and I'm going to stick with it. They're going to be fragile. Okay? And that means the critical threat range against air cast is doubled. So, since the critical threat range in Starfinder is just 20, and improved critical is not a thing, that means that it's now on a 19 or 20. So it's gone from a 5% chance to a 10% chance. You crit now on a 19 or 20. And I do think that's appropriate. These guys do not want to be in combat. Do you want to have one of them with you? Absolutely. You're going to have a ship. You're probably going to want to have an aircast pilot. But in the middle of a fight, if you're aircast, you want to stay out of the way. Now, that isn't to say that you can't help. You can. It's just you don't want to be on the front lines. But I think that does it for the air cast. Okay, earth cast. These guys, I don't even know how to classify. Earth cast. These are comprised not only of the tower's laborers and technicians, but also artisans, scientists, and engineers. So basically, the workers. Alright, so they are usually credited with the significant leaps in technology that the Tau Empire has enjoyed. Members of the Earth Caste form the foundations upon which the Tau Empire is built. The inhabitants of this caste are generally short and stout of build. Now, this is... This, I think, is going to be an interesting one when it comes to ability modifiers. So, automatically, they get a -2 to their strength because they are Tau. However, what they then do with their points is variable because somebody who is working labor is not going to have the same stats as somebody who is working in a lab. And so what I think we're going to do is this. We're going to say +2 to any 2 abilities, and then -2 strength. So you can pick what you want. Yeah, I think that's actually really good. Hit points, 4. And you know what? I think I kind of want to change these. I think I want to go with 5 for the fire cast, and I want to go with 3 for the water cast. Because the water cast isn't really meant for combat or anything really strenuous. They don't need the hit points. Fire cast, they are meant for combat and for strenuous activity. So, yeah. So we got 5, 4, 3, 2. Does that mean the ethereals are going to be 1? No, they're not. I'm kidding. I'm not that mean. I'm mean, but I'm not that mean. Alright, so, Earth Cast, the workers, they're going to get 4 hit points. They get a +2 to any 2 abilities they want, but they still have to take a -2 to strength. Which means that if you want to put like everything into strength, +4 strength, -2 strength is still a +2 strength. It's up to you. Now, abilities. This is where it's going to be hard. Since they are laborers, technicians, artisans, scientists, engineers. They've got to be really, really versatile. And so, why don't we borrow from the humans? Because these guys are basically just like alien humans. We already borrowed the, +2 to any 1 ability from them. But we could also take bonus feat and skilled. And why not? I kind of like that. It leaves them completely versatile. You can make them into whatever you want. So, bonus feat and skilled. And with skilled, they gain an additional skill rank at the first level and each level thereafter. Which means that what skills they get will be better defined by what class you take, but they'll be better at doing whatever class you take. And so that one is really super easy. Alright, and that brings us to the Ethereal Caste. These guys are leaders. Alright. The Ethereals are the political and religious leaders of the Tau. They resemble the Fire and Water Caste physically, but are marked by a diamond-shaped ridge of raised bone in the center of their foreheads. Their origins are unknown, and most Tau will never refuse a request made by an Ethereal. They are sometimes found on the battlefield, but whether as leaders or observers remains to be seen. The leader of the Ethereal Caste is the Tau named Aunva, the Ethereal Supreme, Master of the Undying Spirit. Okay, don't really care about that much. All we really need to know, it says they resemble the Fire and Water Caste physically. Okay? Which means they're probably a little bit weaker than the Fire Caste, a little bit stronger than the Water Caste. But it should all kind of work out. Because they are leaders, I'm going to say that they still take the -2 penalty to strength. Because they live on Tau. They're not fighters. Yeah. They are leaders, however, both political and religious. And so, what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of do the same thing we did with the air, where we're going to do a -4 plus 6. But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to say +2 intelligence, +2 wisdom, +2 charisma, because they need all 3 of them. -2 strength for living on the planet, and -2 constitution, because they are leaders. They don't really do things. They're a little bit squishy. And so you get a +2 overall, and all of your soft abilities are boosted. And that's in the wrong place. There we go. Now, hit points, because they are a blend between the Fire Caste and the Water Caste. I'm going to say hit points. They're going to get 4. Now, as for abilities, we discussed this a little bit last time. This does not say that they really necessarily get a whole lot in the way of special abilities, except for the fact that no Tau will ever refuse a request made by an Ethereal. Which means they have the ability of suggestion. And I'm going to go ahead and say mass suggestion. This is going to work as per, let's see, the written rules only works on Tau subtypes. Oh, and one other thing. This is going to be at will. So there's no limit on how many times you can do this per day. If you're around Tau all day, you can literally give them orders all day. Is it an extremely broken ability? Yeah, it is. It really is. However, got to keep in mind that an Ethereal surrounded by Tau is going to be obscenely strong. An Ethereal on its own, however, with a -2 strength means they're not good at melee combat. No bonus to dexterity means that they're only iffy when it comes to range combat. -2 to constitution means that they're not going to stick it out in a fight for very long. They don't want combat. They want to be in a position of leverage. Now, ability number 2. What are we going to give them? Because we've already given them mass suggestion as long as it works on Tau. What can we find in here? So there's the history, there's the role. Here we go, anatomy and physiology. Maybe we can find something in here. Okay, so subject, how ethereal. See, the endoskeletal skull reveals a age-knitted growth plates, close analogy to human cranium. Olfactory chasm, yes, we know what they look like. This does not really give me a whole lot of interesting information. There is a transcript here. Should we read it? Okay, so this is between Inquisitor, Martyr and Relay, and an unnamed female ethereal. Says, so do you have a name? There's only silence. Oh, come now, I know you understand me. My servant Dovis tells me you've been trying to convince him to release you for hours. Your command of our language is very impressive. What do you want with me? Simply to learn, my nameless friend. Forgive my incredulity. Why can't I say that word? Incredulity. You know what? Forgive me for not believing you. Your race has never struck us as interested in learning. Ha! Mercifully, we aren't all alike. For example, Own, that's what your caste is called, yes? I should be delighted if you would tell me all that you can about the Tauvar. The Tauva. I dare say you think you already know all there is to know. Nonetheless, the Aun reclines her head, then straightens. Very well, if I am denied the company of my people, I can at least represent their righteousness. The Tauva is the one true pathway. The Gaulas place your faith in a god that can affect your life not at all. The Tauva brings Tau to contentment. Oh, and Malachi's in here. Malachi says, morning, am late. Yes, you are. You're very late. You've already missed, like, all the Tau that we built. It's alright, we can go back and look at them again. And the Inquisitor says, but what is it? Aun says, selflessness, you would call it. The greater good. The knowledge that staring inwards only finds solitude, but by staring outwards, by devoting oneself to the race and quest for perfection, there is harmony and peace. An ongoing quest? So you admit your empire is not yet perfect? And of course not. What is? The Tauva is a path. The Gula, not the destination. And you Greyskins all just agree to follow the same path? Is that so hard to believe? Why should we rail against that which makes most sense? Each Tau is free to choose their destiny. That they all choose the Tauva is merely a testament to its righteousness. It is a unifying ideal. Unifying. Ah, yes, I've heard that argument before. And what happens when you find someone who doesn't want to be unified, eh? Subjugation. You missed the point. The greater good is no mere diversion, no empty grayhood, or no empty godhood in which we place our faith. It is a necessity, human. It is the only thing that can save the galaxy from itself. We have a saying. Orak Shothri Tiskson Shatauva. Unity comes to all things in time. Whether they like it or not. Alright. Another question. What do you know of the Oshova? You think yourself cleverer than me, Gula, but I assure... Evading my question isn't clever, Aun, just a sign that I've hit a nerve. I ask you again, what do you know of Oshova? What do you know of Commander Farsight? Let me start off. It's a story I heard from a trader on the edge of the Damocles Gulf. Seems this Oshova was a great hero of yours in the Firecast. Genius at whatever he did, just so long as he was doing the fighting. Isn't that how it is with you, Tau? Watercast talk and debate, the Aircast shuttle you around, the Earthcast do the dirty work. Everyone with their niche. No interbreeding, no intermixing. So Oshova sets off to reclaim the colonies, and naturally there's an ethereal in charge. Except the Aun gets killed and Oshova ends up in command. And suddenly, there's no one reminding him about the bloody Tauva. And he's a long way from home. So what's he do, Aun? I mean, like you said, the Tauva is something you choose to follow, yes? Surely Oshova would have carried on with the peace and tranquility crap despite it all. Except he didn't. He set up on his own, his very own little empire, without you ethereals telling him what to do, without your wretched Tauva running his life. You said it yourself, Aun. Why should we rail against that which makes the most sense? Well, maybe it only makes sense while you lot are in charge. And so that does give you a great idea of what the ethereals are like. How they speak, how they think. It's not, perfect insight into them, but it's good. I like it. And it's a nice little story. I like little stories. Oh, and Malachi says, I say it incrementally, like incredulity. Something like that. I'm incredulous that I have to use it at all. See, I can say incredulous all day long. It's just when you phrase it like that, incredulity, that it gets really, really hard, and I don't know why, okay? It short circuits my brain, okay? There's 3 brain cells inside of my skull, and 2 of them are crying right now. Alright, so there's not really a whole lot else to say about this one. We just need to give them some kind of second ability. I do wonder, what is it that ethereals do in the game? Like in the codex, if you have an ethereal on the board, what does it do for you? Because I'm sure that would give me some kind of insight. Do they give some kind of bonus to any models around them? Notable ethereals, video games, sources. I mean, role. I think I know what their role is. Let's see. In temperament, ethereals are enigmatic and studious, yet unfaltering in their authority and their drive to further the greater good. They are mystics and philosophers, possessed of knowledge and wisdom, not shared by their most practical subject. The origins of the Tau species are shrouded in mystery, and it is the great enigma that the Tau ascended from the status of primitive pre-industrial nomads to the highly developed starfaring empire in less than 6 Terran millennia. Well, I mean, that's 6 millennia. 6,000 years. So it's currently the year 2000. 6,000 years ago would have been the first human civilizations. And that was like before we had recorded history. I think, at least. I don't know. I'm not entirely certain. History, not my strong suit. But 6,000 years ago, that would have been preceding the Egyptian civilization? Wouldn't it? I know it precedes the pyramids. Yeah, I have no idea. But still, I mean, we're doing pretty good. We're in space. We're not doing much in space right now, but we're getting there. 6,000 years ago, we were still hunters and gatherers. Okay. The ethereal caste organizes itself using the same system of ranks as do the other four castes, with the lowest formed into councils overseeing settlements, the highest ruling over entire septs, autonomous and self-sustaining Tau colony star systems. Caste as a whole is guided by a body referred to as the Council of the Highest, also known more simply as the Ethereal High Command, consisting of all the most senior ethereals in the Tau Empire. No single individual heads the council. It tends to be guided by the wisdom of whichever ethereal is regarded by his peers as preeminent at the time and known as the Ethereal Supreme. Let's see. Some ethereals have been known to accompany Tau forces into battle, and indeed a number always accompany Tau colonization and expansion forces. It has been theorized by Imperial scholars that Tau, especially those in the Fire caste not operating under high-level guidance of an ethereal, are likely to regress to the warlike state that so nearly destroyed their species at the dawn of their history. Let's see. It's not necessary for ethereals to participate in every conflict at the tactical level. Very rarely, though, they may participate in battle to provide inspirational leadership in order to push the warriors to achieve otherwise impossible things in the name of the greater good. The presence of an ethereal is not as a mere figurehead, for they are also reverential leaders for whom any Tau would willingly lay down his or her life. Interesting. I think I can work with that. Because we already have the mass suggestion ability. And so we can already make sure that any Tau does what we tell them to. Okay, here we go. Malachi's got something for me too in the chat. Pulled straight from the data sheet. Ethereals have an ability called Failure is not an option. While this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have the Feel No Pain 5-up ability. Okay. If I remember the rules to 40k, Feel No Pain basically is a chance to disregard all damage. So if an ethereal is leading that squad, or that unit, after all damage has been established, after we have rolled the dice to see if it hits, rolled the dice to see if it pens, rolled the dice to see if it wounds, there is then a Feel No Pain roll, and if it's a 5 or 6, they take nothing. Yes, Malachi just said they roll a 5 or 6, they take no damage. Okay. I need to find a way to use that. I need to find a way to use that. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Failure is not an option. Okay? What I'm going to say is, once per day, plus 1 per charisma bonus. Okay, here's how I'm going to do this. Once per day, plus 1 per charisma bonus. So that's like an automatic 1 or an automatic 2 because you get a plus 2 charisma. And then if you put more points into charisma, then you should be good. So once per day per charisma bonus. designate... If I could spell... Designate a... Let's see. Designate a unit with the Tau subtype that just took damage. That unit may make a Fortitude save, DC, the damage dealt, to ignore... Yeah, to ignore any damage from that source this turn. Right? So, if you are playing a Tau, if you're playing any of the other well, if you're playing any Tau, really, and there is an ethereal nearby, you get shot. I need to make this an immediate action. Alright, immediate action. Malachi says, as a reaction, no. Pathfinder and Starfighter don't have reactions. That's a 5e thing. However, immediate action is kind of the same thing. But it's a little bit more broad. The way actions are taken in Pathfinder and Starfinder, you have, of course, full actions, and then you have partial actions, or you have move actions. I generally combine partial and move actions into just, single actions. Kind of like action points. So you can generally do 2 things in one turn, whether it's double move, whatever. Then you have swift actions. You have immediate actions, and I'm missing one of them. What am I missing here? It would be over here. And it would probably be under combat. Action types. Okay, here we go. So yeah, 6 types of actions. Standard actions, which is what I would just call, like a single action. So when you attack, that's an action. If you go to cast a spell, that's an action. If you dig something out of your bag, that's an action. An action is whatever you're doing on this turn, and then they say move. Generally speaking, because you're allowed 1 move, but if you do what's called a hustle, you can spend a full round to just move twice your distance. In other words, you're moving twice. Let's simplify it. Equally, you can generally use your move time to probably dig something else out of your bag if you needed to, so I like to just say you get 2 standard actions. You can use it on pretty much whatever you want. Full round is exactly that. It takes up both of your actions. Swift. A swift action is less than a standard action, more than an immediate action. Okay? Generally speaking, swift actions do not use up one of your actions, but can usually only be done on your turn. So, for example, a good example of a swift action would be moving 1 square. Now, they will generally say that you can move 1 square as a free action, and that's true. However, free actions are a little bit more nebulous. So a swift action is generally you get one of them a turn. It doesn't take away from your standard actions that you already want to take. So, good examples of swift actions. I already used, taking one step. Other examples might be a quick distraction. Or like if you wanted to suddenly yell to try and surprise somebody. Malachi says the infamous 5-foot step. Yes, it is true. So that's a swift action. There's not enough time for you to take multiple swift actions. And in fact, even if you use multiple abilities that do say it is a swift action, the DM will not let you do more than one. Immediate actions, however, are similar to swift, except that you can do them on other people's turns. And in that way, they're kind of similar to reactions. I actually like to think of it in terms of Magic the Gathering. Swift moves are sorceries. Immediate moves are instants. And in that way, you can easily differentiate them. They might do the same thing, but one of them you can only do on your turn, the other one whenever you need to. And then free. Of course, the big example of free is talking is a free action. But this is why free is kind of nebulous. There are a lot of things that kind of fall under the idea of free action. Like, generally speaking, a free action is anything that you can do without rolling a dice. Okay? Like if you were in the middle of combat and you asked me, as the DM, you're the player, you asked me, what do I see? That is a free action. You can prompt me to give you a full description of the battlefield and the position of all of the enemies that you can see. The position of all the things like cover or concealment, features of the terrain like giant rocks or chunks of metal or wreckage. You can ask me to give you a look at the battlefield as a free action. You can talk to each other. You can shout things to each other in general as a free action. Usually no more than a couple of lines, but you can do that. Anything that requires you to roll a dice is not a free action. Like, just straight up, it's out. Anything that you have to roll for. So you can ask me what you see. But if you actually look for something and you had to roll a perception check, now you're actually taking time to do something. It's no longer free. And so that's kind of how they work. It does go into further descriptions here. Although not great descriptions, apparently. So yeah, that's kind of how they work. And so when I look at this and I say failure is not an option, this has to be an immediate action. So you're a fire warrior, you get hit, okay? You get hit, you take damage, the ethereal says, nope, you will stand your ground. I'm using failure as not an option. And so that fire warrior that just got hit, damage is rolled, they get to roll a fortitude save. If their fortitude save is over the damage didn't happen. And so it's any damage from that source this turn. So that doesn't mean that other people can't shoot you, because they can shoot you, they can stab you, whatever, and it ends this turn. So that's pretty good right there. Alright. I like it. I like this a lot. I think that's a really cool race right there. And keep in mind, this is just the race. So not only do you have this, but keep in mind that you can be an ethereal, and this is too far up because you can't see this. Let's go back to this one instead. But you can be an ethereal, and you can still have access to all of these. So you can be a biohacker, you can be an envoy, a mechanic, an operative, whatever you want to do. You could technically be an ethereal soldier. Although you can't self-target with this. You can't command yourself to ignore the damage. But yeah, if there is more than one Tau going to be on the team, having the ethereal there might actually be really good. And for that matter, if you had an ethereal and an aircast on the same team, the aircast only has a -2 to Constitution, so they take a -1 of their Fortitude save. But still, if they have a decent Fortitude save, you could technically have an ethereal be able to command an aircast to just shrug off whatever hurts them. I mean, an ethereal and an aircast could work well. But there we go. I think I'm actually going to kind of wrap this one up a little bit early. That's not bad. That is not bad at all. That is all the primary casts of the Tau. We still have to do the Kroot and the Vespids. But we've got Firecast Warriors. And they get to move through all kinds of difficult terrain because of where they grew up. And they get endurance as per Pathfinders. So, I mean, almost anything physical, they can push through it. Which is great. Not to mention they're going to get more hit points. Watercast, anything that requires soft skills, they're pretty much king of it. So they automatically get culture no matter what it is. And they automatically get to do all kinds of negotiation. They're almost guaranteed the best deal on anything they do. Aircast, I don't think that you could build a better pilot than Aircast. And so with a +6 to dexterity, pilot always being a class skill, if you were to have an 18 in dexterity, +6 is 24. And then, if you just put one rank into piloting, every single time you take a level, and since piloting is a class skill, as soon as you put 1 point in there, you get 3 bonus. That means that with the plus for 24, that'd be a +7. And then if you put a point into piloting, plus the class bonus skill, that would be a +11 to piloting at level 1. You could not get better pilots. The Earthcast workers are completely versatile. If you don't want to play any of the other ones, but you still want to play a Tau, Earthcast is it. Since they're basically just Tau humans. You can pick where you want your bonuses to go, you can pick your bonus feat, you get more skill points to spend. Take your Earthcast and make it what you want. And then Ethereals, not great on their own, but with their mass suggestion ability, if you had to go into any kind of Tau populated area, the power level for the Ethereal cast just goes off the charts. It's kinda broken. But it's broken in a good way. It's extremely overpowered, but very, very situational. And so I like the way this came out. Alright, well, like I said, next time we gotta do Kroot, and we gotta do Vespids. I'm looking forward to them because they're gonna be weird. They're gonna be super weird. The Kroot, not as much. Because they're just kind of reptilian. I think they're kind of reptilian. Berserkers. The Vespid, I'm looking forward to. The Vespid are going to be so much fun. Figuring out exactly what they do and how they do it, and what makes them really unique. They might actually have a lot of different abilities to make them super powerful, but kind of super incompatible with other people. Because Vespid are not really the kind of guys that, Vespid are not the kind of guys that are going to be really accepted anywhere. And Malachi says, start collecting marginalized Tau mercenaries for a party to have a bonus party with my ethereal. I mean, you could. Like, if the entire if everyone in the party wanted to play Tau, and one person wanted to be ethereal, number one, this party is going to be insanely strong. Like, even if you took one of each, okay? What if we had 5 players and we get one of each? You're going to have one person guaranteed to be an awesome fighter. You're going to have Earthcast, who, while they might not be fighters, will be able to back up the Fire Warrior. You will have one of the best pilots ever in the Aircast. You will have your Negotiator, who can gather information, get past people, as the Watercast, and with the ethereal behind them, being able to give commands and help support people in the middle of combat. Do you realize how terrifying that would be? I mean, that would be super terrifying. If that party broke into some kind of complex, trying to steal technology or shut down some kind of like force field or whatever it happened to be, that party would be damn near unstoppable. It really would be. What are you going to do? Are you going to throw, more bad guys at them? The Firecast is having a field day. You've got electronic door locks or something? If the Earthcast specialized in electronics and technician stuff? Okay, fine. Anything technological, the Earthcast has got it, while the Firecast is providing covering fire. You come across, you catch somebody by surprise, you need to convince them to let you in somewhere? Watercast. Watercast can talk them into doing pretty much anything. Remember what it said about the Watercast. Where was it? Here it is. Go back. Water, water, water. Here we go. You're going to jump, aren't you? Yes, you are. Let's see. From the time when the Tau discovered the existence of the Imperium, there are several accounts where Watercast ambassadors were dispatched to Imperial worlds, and those worlds accepted the greater good without a fight to become new Tau septs. You come across the guard in the facility, okay? He's got the only key. Yeah, the Fire Warrior could probably just shoot him, but the Watercast could just walk up there and ask him. It's like, look, we don't want to hurt anybody. We're just trying to do something and get out of here. All right? We're doing all of this in service of the greater good. This is a linchpin that's going to cause great things to happen across the galaxy. And then roll for diplomacy. And at the back of the group, you have the ethereal to make sure that everyone knows where they're going. And outside the facility, you have your Aircast member probably sitting in the ship waiting for a quick getaway. This is a fire team. They can bust into anywhere and do just about anything. The only downside to this, however, is because everyone is playing a Tau subtype. whoever is playing the ethereal has the potential to take complete control of the group. And so you really got to question whether or not you want that kind of power over you. It could be really good, could be really bad, depends on how much you trust the group, how much you trust each other. But I think that if you can trust each other, then this is great. This is absolutely amazing. All right, but like I said, I am going to cut this one off at the pretty much at the noon mark, which is amazing. I kept it to 2 hours. I can't do that all the time. Next time, we'll do the Kroot, we'll do the Vespid. Once we get those done, we'll start working on weapons and armor. It is a long, long list. And as I stated at the beginning of the stream, it's not even the complete list. I still haven't added in all the other Tau gear. We'll get to it, maybe, I don't know. But for today, we're going to take a break there. So, if you've enjoyed this, and if you want to see just what we can do with the Kroot and the Vespid, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell icon, that way you get notified when the videos come out. You can come late, but if you don't get notified, you might not come at all. So hit the bell icon. If you know somebody else who's also into Starfinder, or if they're into Warhammer, or if they're just into tabletop gaming in general and they haven't even been introduced to this stuff yet, share the video with them. And otherwise though, if you just like me, leave a like on the video, on the stream, leave comments down below. If you want to leave more comments, you can always join the Discord server. It's there, you can join it. It works. We don't bite, I promise. Tux does, but Tux has got that little, penguin beak, so it doesn't really hurt. It's fine. Next weekend should be normal. I don't believe there's anything going on Saturday or Sunday, so that should be fine. The Sunday after that, there will actually not be a tabletop stream because I will be going out for Thanksgiving, but not going to get into that one. We'll cover that more, after the stream next week. But yeah, next weekend should be good. So we'll have a lecture, we'll have tabletop stream, we will have fun. So I look forward to seeing you there. I look forward to having you here, rather. And yeah, that's about it. So until then, do me a favor, take care.